Good morning. This is Josefina Alcala, Fort Bend County Master Gardener, class of fall 2010. Welcome to my garden. Um, I want to start my presentation by demonstrating some of the plants I have in the shady area of my house. These plants have been planted along the fence on the west side of my house to create a little more privacy with our neighbor. I've decided to plant a few Texas Superstar plants. For those of you who don't know what Texas Superstar plants are, they are plants that have been tested through several environments and gardeners can or homeowners can plant these selections and just provide a minimal amount of water until they're established, and these plants should thrive regardless of your gardening ability. Anyway, this place gets a lot of shade. It does get some sun later in the afternoon as the sun moves. However, I wanted still to provide some color and interest to the rooms of my daughter. So the first plant I have here is a plumbago. This plant is protected here. Our last fall winter was not very cold, so the plant took off relatively early in the spring, and you can see it's trying to reach out for more light, but it's still nevertheless blooming, so that's a nice feature of this plant. The next plant I have is a Hamelia patens. This Hamelia patent is also known as a firebush, and it is really a spectacular plant. It takes it some time to bloom. Again, last year we did not have a very hard fall winter, and it came out relatively what I mean by coming out, I mean it started producing new growth relatively easy. You can see it has this beautiful tubular flowers. The calyx is all together, it's fused, and this is a nice feature for hummingbirds and some butterflies. They really enjoy it. It is a quite big specimen. You need to keep it pruned, so that's something I need to do relatively soon. Over here I bought another Hamelia patent, but you can see that the shape and size and even the size of the leaves are relatively, the leaves are small. It still maintains the tubular structure of Hamelias. I was reading that Hamelia patents, there are different types or variations in the trade. I don't particularly like this plant. It's not such as a vigorous grower as this plant here. The leaves on this Hamelia are relatively small, so I think I'm gonna just kind of cut it out and try another Texas Superstar. So it is important to keep in mind when you're shopping for plants that there may be variations, so keep that in mind. I was not aware until I did this purchase. Okay, so as we move along the main area of my garden, you can see I have here a citrus tree. But before I describe this citrus tree, I would like to bring to your attention the fact that I do practice edible landscaping. My fellow master gardeners, Janice de Guzman and Donna Cutaya, and I take care of the edible front yard garden. just prior to the pandemic, sorry, that we're going through. But it is quite rewarding to intersperse edibles in your garden. It gives you some fruit, or it can provide you with fruits or vegetables in an area that is otherwise used for ornamentals. Okay, this fruit tree here, it's an uyukitsu. An uyukitsu, it's a cross between an orange and a citrus. I kept asking Deborah Birch about this tree because it is an extremely slow grower, and she kept telling me to be patient, and she was correct. This tree, just like children, they take their time to grow, bloom, and show their full potential. So I have been pleased with the tree. This is the first year that it is bearing a ton of fruit after maybe 5 or 6 years. So I had to be really patient with this tree. Now I want to demonstrate here. These are pheromone traps. I bought this trap out of California, and it consists of a plastic tent and then a sticky pad to obviously trap the insect, and then the pheromone. One good thing about the system is that you can keep the tent and you just ask for replacements of the sticky pad and the pheromone. And the pheromone can be kept in the freezer for several months. So this system was not cheap, but I have several citrus trees, so I can just keep my pheromone in the freezer. So over here you can see along this fence I have a diversity of trees, shrubs, annuals, and perennials. When the builder built this property, they wanted to landscape the back fence, particularly because we are neighbors with one of the prisons. In the summer, you cannot see much because of all the weeds growing, but in the fall, winter, when everything is dead, you can appreciate the prison area. But anyway, this is something that I unfortunately did not have an opportunity to landscape, but nevertheless, I've modified it a little bit, and I'm okay with it. All right, as we move here, I have one of my, or I should say my main bed. My main bed again has a combination of edibles and ornamentals of different types. To showcase, I have here a weeping persimmon. This is a fruit tree that I bought in one of our plant sales. I really love the architecture of this tree. It is an extremely heavy bearer for me. The fruit is, it has big seeds. You need to wait till the fruit turns orange to eat, and the birds have figured out that they like them too. So we need to share or be smart about harvesting them a little bit early. But in reality, the main purpose for this tree is because of its beautiful architecture. As you can see, I am an avid gardener. I plant different annuals according to what I like to plant in this area. I have a pipevine that my pipevine swallowtails just love and devour all the time, for which I'm pleased. My daughters have enjoyed looking at the metamorphosis of this butterfly. Over here, you can see I have another persimmon. This is an astringent type, and I can't remember the variety. It's a relatively new planting. It has not bared a big amount of fruit yet, but nevertheless it's looking healthy, and so we appreciate that. I have different kinds of roses, some earth kind. This is a Belinda's Dream, which is, by the way, another Texas superstar plant. I have here different zinnias and pentas. Some of them are miniature, some of them are giant. It is important to have in a garden a wide amount of not only colors and textures, but also heights. Here I have a black pearl pepper that I actually bought on sale in HEB. People don't appreciate the beauty of this pepper. I think it's just magnificent against the white backdrop. Over here you can see these are vincas, and these are new selections that are coming out in the market. I bought this selection out of Enchanted Gardens, and they are pretty and nice, but this is just to showcase that there is an interest in in reinventing the wheel. In other words, in producing things that may be a little more appealing to homeowners who have small gardens. I have a bird bath in the background for my flying visitors. I have lantanas that are another kind of Texas superstars, and pentas. And so you can be creative in your garden having different edibles. I have here, this is a little sweetie. A little sweetie is a satsuma that is grown probably in a dwarf rootstock. I don't quite remember what rootstock. I bought this in one of our plant sales, and so you can see that I have tried to plant things that will not get extremely tall or out of control. I can prune them and yet have enough room for my ornamentals. So over here I have some Laura Bush petunias. There are Texas Superstar too. I started these from seeds, and they're quite beautiful, and they tolerate relatively okay the heat of the summer. Some sunflowers and some other natives. Over here I have an American basket. Again, it's important to provide different colors, textures, and heights for your pollinators. Over here I have a cherry of the Rio. This is a plant that I also bought in one of our fruit sales, and it is a slow grower too. It's so looking good regardless of its slow paced growth, and we'll see if one of these years we can have some fruit out of this tree. Another native, it's an American beautyberry. Different mums of different types. We have salvias, and again different ornamentals that I like and try to squeeze along with some edibles such as this rosemary. Okay, along this fence I have more ornamentals, a mountain laurel here. Another this is another look, it's a kumquat. There are different types. This is a sweet kumquat. It's not looking very good, but again, we'll see. I planted it about a year ago. Maybe it needs a little more time to establish. I have an Althea. I got this seedling out of our demonstration gardens, and it breeds true to type, as you can see. By the way, the Texas Superstar program has released 2 other different types of Altheas, so if you're interested, look at their website, www.texassuperstars.com. I have different superstars here. This is Amoy Grande Hibiscus. It's beautiful. I love this plant, and the birds help me, so I have another seedling coming up here. All right, and this would be a good transition to my vegetable garden. I have a vegetable garden that is probably a 12 by 20. It's not extremely big, but it gives me the opportunity to plant and have fun with some edibles. I have planted some Mary Moms here, not just because of the fall, but it's important to provide some pollen and nectar for pollinators. So the more you can intersperse blooming plants within your vegetable gardens, I think it helps you with the control of unwanted pests. I planted some squash here. They're having a little bit of a hard time germinating given the heat we're currently encountering, but we'll just keep trying. Over here I have some eggplants, 6 or 7 different varieties. They're growing tall and lanky because I have a wall of okra that is shading the plants, but the production with the heat has been a little bit slower. So once the temperature starts decreasing a little bit, then we should be able to see a little more production. Over here I have 2 different types of okra. This is a burgundy type okra. Here we go. And Al Gloss told me you need to harvest daily, otherwise they go nuts. And it is true, they grow so fast. Here I have a Clemson spineless okra. And the only problem I have with okra is that it grows tall, and the more you harvest fruit, the taller it gets. So I've decided I'm going to chop them. I can't reach, I'm not that tall, so anyway. Over here in this part of my vegetable garden, I planted a couple of rows of specialty peppers. And the good thing, I mean, it's crazy to be planting this time of the year. Today is August 15, but the good thing is that I have the okra protecting and shading them a little bit, as you can see, and my Asian bean. So let's talk a little bit about the Asian bean. This is called a phyton snake Asian bean, and these seeds I bought them through Baker's Creek Heirloom Seeds. We demonstrated this plant in our garden last year. It is truly a remarkable vegetable. I would highly recommend it. When the fruit or the bean is mature, it will produce this orange-like structure, and you can harvest the fruit. The fruit can reach 2-3 feet. It is really a vigorous grower. Here my poor bean broke and it was getting too big. It is quite succulent. When the bean starts maturing, it attains this kind of waxy like color to it. So I mean, they're crunchy, they're nice, but I keep them for seeds, and of course the tender ones I will you can see here an immature one. I keep them for the old ones for seeds and the tender ones for consumption. I cook them with stir-fry garlic, onion, tomatoes, and then whatever spice you want, and they're really nice and crunchy. The flowers are very unique, and butterflies like them a lot. So you know, it is vegetable worthy of your time and effort in the summer as a zucchini substitute. You do need to trellis for the plant to support itself. All right, in this part of my bed I have a grape. It's another Texas Superstar. It's a Victoria Red grape. The yields were very good this year, but unfortunately it rained so much when in the spring that the blooms just the grapes, pardon me, just bursted open, and we did not harvest anything. So Mother Nature has a big saying on whether you will harvest fruit or not. So anyway, you can see here that the snake bean, this is a young snake bean. I will not harvest this yet, but they're quite vigorous. You can see if you don't keep them under control, they'll trellis over my grape and etc. One plant I want to showcase here is called chaya. This is a native from Mexico, from South Mexico and Central America. It can be used as a summer spinach. I make a cold drink by blending the young leaves with mint, lemon, sugar, and the chaya. Or it can also be used as a spinach substitute, and many people believe it has some medicinal properties. So it is a tender tropical, and I keep cuttings of it. It roots quite easily, so I keep cuttings of it in my greenhouse. I also want to demonstrate that I have a couple of shepherd beets compost beans here. Not the prettiest of sight, but we eat so many vegetables. We are vegan at home that I collect seeds. I collect leaves in the fall, and then my husband helps me with the preparation of our compost beans. You can see I have seeds growing, by the way, here, which is not ideal, so probably I'm not composting as I should. But anyway, I do get my own compost, which is good because now I don't spend money buying compost as I used to in the beginning. All right, I want to showcase my greenhouse. This is a relatively small greenhouse, maybe a 12 by 16. It's a double polycarbonate wall. It's looking kind of old. We've had it for many years now. I keep some weed barrier here, and I have to put some insulation in the blinds because they're not working anymore in the fall winter. This is where I keep all my plants that need to be protected. You can see here again I have a fan. It's enough for the greenhouse, and then I keep a small heater to help me in the winter. One plant I want to showcase here is a katuk. It is a very particular plant from Asia. I know people eat it, and I ordered this plant 2 years ago, and we also demonstrated this plant in the edible front yard garden, and I was going to place it back, but since we have not been able to go back, I'm just kind of adopting it temporarily here. I have not taken it out because it rooted here and it's quite happy, so I'm just keeping it here and see what happens with it with time. I don't know again how to cook with it, but it's an interesting plant. So again, this is just my greenhouse. Nothing nice, nothing spectacular about it. Now I have a reasonably sized patio here in the back of your house, and my husband and I hired someone to install this kind of louver system made of aluminum. It is it's powered by the sun. It has a solar cell, and the good thing about this system is that we can open it, close it at will. So according to the time of the day I'm opening and closing it, I can control the amount of rain that I want coming in the patio. So it's a quite comfortable system. It allows you to modify your growing conditions a little bit. Over here, my husband says I keep all my junk, which I don't think it's junk. I love my plants. I have several different types of amaryllis. I keep them in pots, but if I don't have room in the greenhouse for everything, I'll keep them outside and they do okay. My dad used to love them, especially the white type. So in his memory, I planted, or I have many of these amaryllis. And then I have just an assortment of different succulents, cacti, bromeliads, etc. For example, here I have some desert roses that are native to, I believe it's South Africa, and I started many of these from seeds, believe it or not. So, but and they bloom and everything, but I have not mastered the art of making them look bonsai-like. So that's something I need to work on. I have some specialty tropicals I'm propagating. When I was a young girl in Mexico, my first love was for orchids. Mexico has many different zones. We're very fortunate, and I loved orchids. So when I had the opportunity to come to the United States as a student, the first thing I did was I signed up for the Brazos Valley Orchid Society, where I got to meet really knowledgeable people who taught me many things about how to grow and keep orchids. So even though my number of orchids has reduced considerably, I still keep quite a few of them because I love their diversity. Some of them are fragrant, some of them are not. Their sizes, their shapes, their colors, etc. All right, and then as I see fit, I plant seedlings for whatever purpose I need. Over here I have a few plumerias that I like. I enjoy plumerias, but I have found out that I particularly prefer the dwarf types because otherwise they get very tall and unmanageable. And some other plants along this area. One final thing I want to share with you are my tropical trees in pots. Let's start with my guava. This guava tree looks like it would need some fertilizer, even though I fertilize every week with light fish emulsion. You can see this is the first year it has bear some fruit. I'm excited. Actually, I don't know what variety this is. One day I was in H-E-B buying some fruits and vegetables. I started talking to this lady, and she invited me over to her garden and gave me this cutting. And this has been maybe 3 years ago. So I don't know if the guava tree needs to attain a certain size before producing fruit, but for me it's the first time and it's only produced 2 fruits. All right, over here I have lemongrass. I bought the seeds, and I should cut it more often to produce tea, but I don't. One tree that I want to demonstrate here is this Annona squamosa. It's called sugar apple. And my fellow graduate student Kevin Crosby gave me this tree 2 years ago. By the way, my husband Kevin and I were all graduate students with the late Dr. Leonard Pike, who developed the Texas Super Sweet 1015 onion that revolutionized the onion industry in the valley. But anyway, we keep in touch, and he is also a tropical fruit tree freak, and he shared this tree, and my daughters really like the fruit. When it matures, it turns all red, and then it's soft, and it has this beautiful black seeds. So I'm pleased to have this tree. This is a jaboticaba. Deborah suggested this tree as a possibility for our fruit tree sale, so I bought this for our garden, but given the pandemic, I never had a chance to plant it in our garden, so I'm adopting it temporarily. This is another fruit tree here that I think has a good possibility. It's an Annona muricata, or soursop. If you have never tried the fruit of this tree, it's truly delicious and remarkable. H-E-B carries the fruit in the frozen section under the Goya brand label. It is great. You can just blend it with sugar and water, and it's delicious. Or some people do ice cream out of it, but it's a very tropical tree. Okay, over here I have my avocado, my Pancho avocado. I've had this tree, oh my gosh, 3-4 years. My beautiful Pancho. It's growing well. I fertilize it every year with citrus fruit, but it has not bear fruit. So I'll be patient with my tree. Hopefully one of these days it will produce some fruit. I bought this year also in the spring some mangoes. This is an Alphonse. I must be having some scale or something. The leaves are not looking that great, so I need to clean them. Oh yeah, scale definitely. I need to attack this soon. And I put it in this big pot, and it's doing well. I have a Namdok Mai too, mango, that is growing well. So we'll see if I can obtain or grow mangoes in pots. Always trying different things like good master gardeners should. All right, with this I will end my presentation, and thanks so much for listening. Goodbye now.